Mm. Pricey Biscuit, what's up, my man? How you doing? How you doing? Michael Pierce opting out the 2020 season. Going to talk about that. Hope you folks are doing just fine. I guess we'll get started, man. So you see what's happening in baseball. The season just started on their shortened season. Players are already getting quarantined. Games are already getting canceled left and right. And I already was having that, man, I don't know how the NFL is going to be able to pull this off. But you know what? Maybe they will. And then, bam, Michael Pierce, he opts out of the 2020 season. And from what I've read a little bit more, he's at high risk due to having asthma. So I totally get it. We, I want to make sure, like, we can't fault the guy for protecting his health and protecting the health of his family. If he chooses to opt out, that is certainly his right to do so. So I totally get it. This sucks, man, because I thought, at least I expected the Minnesota Vikings defense heading into the 2020 season to be great. I thought, and I think I may have been one of the few people that does podcasts where I'm like, yo, the Vikings defense is going to be great next year. The cornerback group completely turned around, even with the young guys. And the old saying goes, the game of football starts and ends in the trenches. And Michael Pierce was the big free agent signing for the Vikings. It all started with him as far as why I thought the defense would be great. And now he's gone. This changes everything. Everything is completely changed because he's so strong. He's basically a younger version of Linval Joseph. And we know how great he was when he was in his prime with us with the Vikings. And now he's gone. We don't have a starting caliber nose tackle to just come in and replace a Michael Pierce. We don't have that. If this was, let's say, Shamar Stephen, who I think really there's no point in him being on the team anyway, or if this was a James Lynch or someone else at the three tech, I could say, okay, we got a couple of guys we can rotate here back and forth. Nose tackle, I mean, what Michael Pierce was going to bring to this defensive line, I mean, you've already got the pillars outside with Everson Griffin. Oh, Everson Griffin, goodness. In fact, Everson Griffin, he's not on the team, but side note, those people that are on We Want Everson Griffin back, I'm with you now. I'm 100% with you now because now you can move Ifeadi Odenigbo inside and you can do some rotations. But going back to the point, Everson Griffin, he's not on the team, but you have Daniil Hunter, you have Ifeadi Odenigbo on the outsides. Michael Pierce, what he was going to bring on the defensive line, what is that? It's condo. We've got, I don't know, signal or something. I don't know if that's an emergency. If it does it more times, I'll stop. But Michael Pierce, what he was going to bring on this defensive line at nose tackle was just clogging up the middle to where even if he doesn't make the tackle, he's going to clog up he can't, he's basically an immovable object. You cannot move the dude at all. So he would command double teams. And even if he doesn't make the tackles, he's so stout, you can't move him that if the running back moves in his zone, then okay, he would have to bounce back and go somewhere else. That gives time for other members on the defensive line or linebackers to make the tackle. And so now that that's gone, that's going to really suck, dude. It's going to it changes everything for this defense because now I'm expecting the interior pressure to be non-existent like it was in 2019. I'm also expecting more favorable vision for the quarterback, for the opposing quarterback. So the outside pillars are going to be great as far as the edge rush with Daniil Hunter and Ifeadi Odenigbo. But then on the inside, even if the outside collapses around the quarterback, what the hell is going on around here? All right, if it does it one more time, I'll stop. The quarterback can then just move up in the pocket and buy himself more time. So that sucks. We'll see what they do. This is going to be a really tough adjustment for Mike Zimmer and Andre Patterson. Let me see your thoughts. Let's see. Yeah, I'm in these condos out in Ocean City. I don't get what the beep is for. Normally, if it's an emergency, it would go beep, 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 like Very repetitive, but we'll see what happens. Pricey Biscuit says not off to a good start. Hopefully the Vikings back office is making calls today and hard at work. I mean, who is out there? Who is out there to just be a serviceable nose tackle that can just come in? I don't know. Dre Curry, more pressure on those young corners. You damn right. Because if the quarterback can just step up in the pocket with the outside breaking down, that's going to be more time for the quarterback to throw on those corners who are already young. Even though I'm very excited about them, it's going to be much tougher on the cornerbacks, no doubt. Let's see. Clayton Cox says interior D line hurting with Pierce out, but I think we can overcome with our edge linebacking core. I disagree, man. If you don't have pressure in the middle up front, that's going to put more pressure on the linebacker. So Michael Pierce would command double teams, ideally. With Michael Pierce gone, that means the opposing offensive line, can really divvy up their resources evenly among our defensive line. So then instead of double teaming a Michael Pierce, you can maybe send an extra offensive line. Let's say it's a run play. Instead of double teaming a Michael Pierce on run plays, you could send an offensive lineman up to the second level to one of our linebackers. So that really it's like a chain reaction that just really just screws everything up for the defense. So I hear what you're saying. Our linebackers, they're still nice. Our edge is still nice, but the interior D line, this changes everything if Pierce isn't there. Well, it's not if he's not there. He's not going to be there. I've seen this. Corporate Tech says Snacks Harrison. I mean, you can't go wrong. That might be the best situation as far as an open market nose tackle. What else can they do? I wouldn't be above it. Pratik Ray says maybe all teams just play their B squads. This is the start of something, man. Because and not to go too off topic with the Michael Pierce thing, but it's just like with all these teams, all these players across the league that are voluntarily opting out due to the coronavirus pandemic. I hope that we have an NFL football season. I hope that we have a full football season. But think about what's happening to baseball. I said this at the beginning of this stream. Baseball, they're already falling apart. How is football going to be able to do this? They're not in a bubble like the NBA. And football is all contact. The trenches, offensive and defensive lines, they're breathing on each other as soon as the ball snaps. They're breathing, they're hugging, they're sweating. All players on the field, they're sweating. How are they going to be able to prevent this? I mean, what's his name? Eric Sugarman, the head trainer of the Vikings. I mean, I thought the Vikings did a wonderful job as far as explaining the efforts that they've taken to really try to limit exposure to their players and their staff. But now, Justin Jefferson, I don't believe it's related to Eric Sugarman or anything related to the Vikings facilities. And Michael Pierce, he's opting out. But, I mean, how is football going to be able to have a full season? I hope they do. And I'm hoping that this isn't the beginning of a mass exodus of a shit ton of players saying, yeah, you know what, we're going to be out. Because this is just the beginning. I mean, goodness, across the league, I think I saw 6 players or 7 players, something like that. The Patriots, the Bills, the Bears, their interior defensive lineman is opting out. So I don't know, man. Oh, I thought about this conserving first. I know I'm butchering these YouTube channel names. Conserving first says, I have a feeling we will have a lot more defensive ends moved inside like last year. We will also need guys like Armon Watts taking a big step forward in the rotation. I think we're going to see that. I think we are. I thought about this as well. We are just going to have defensive ends, especially if we bring Everson Griffin back. Like I said, we can move Odenabo inside. I think we're going to be looking at a lot of those situations, maybe moving some 3 tech guys over to nose tackle in situational plays, and then having the defensive end played 3 tech. We saw that in the Saints game where, goodness, at times we would have Daniil Hunter and Everson Griffin play inside on the interior D line as defensive tackles. We may have to see that a lot. This is just this. I think this goes from we would have been, at least in my opinion, I expected the Vikings defense to be exceptionally good. I thought they would have been easily a top 5 defense this year with the roster overhaul on the defense, to now I think they're going to be a bend but don't break defense like last year. They're going to be a top scoring defense, but they're going to give up quite a bit of yardage, especially in the run game. This is going to be this, and I can't even, no matter what happens, you can't blame any of the coaches. I don't think any coach should be on the hot seat, including Mike Zimmer, because if players are opting out and that's their right to do so, what are they supposed to do? I mean, if we sign Snacks Harrison, that's a huge decline from a Michael Pierce. Oh man. Let's see. Pratik Ray says 99 cents, 100. I appreciate the 99-cent bucket, my man. Clayton Cox says NFL season will most likely get canceled. You can bet your ass a positive COVID test will pop up on a team. Then what? It's not baseball. You can't reschedule games that easily. I know, man. It's all it takes is for one player. All it takes is for one player to get it, especially during practice, and they're breathing, they're sweating, and all that stuff. Then all of a sudden, what? The whole team has it, or the whole A squad has it. What are they going to do? This is going to be, I know I can't say the NFL is doing everything they can, but I know the Minnesota Vikings are doing everything that they can to prevent exposure, but you can only do but so much in a sport like this. In a sport like this, goodness, is there any more of a contact sport than football? I mean, sumo wrestling, but who gives a damn about that? Let's see. Pratik Ray says balling on a budget. Hey, I appreciate it. Uncle Jesse says we've been top 5 defense before. In the 2020 NFL era, top defense doesn't really matter that much. Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying, because I guess the reason why I go back and forth on the pendulum of 7-9 or 11-5 and 12-4 for the Vikings with Michael Pierce on the team was the struggles on offense, or the struggles on the offensive line, not having a Stephon Diggs there. In which case, I still think they can make up for it for targeting Irv Smith Jr., who I think is going to be a beast. But the questions was on the offense. So I get what you're saying, but still, even if you did have some trepidation as far as expectations for how successful the Vikings could be in 2020, now you take Michael Pierce away from the defense, and it's probably going to be a lot worse. Marcus Miller says, sucks his first year. He opts out, but don't blame the big man. You can't at all. Anybody that's saying, oh, this dude, what a piece of shit, F him, but like, nah, man, that's not cool. You got to respect his decision. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Who am I to you says he won't be the only one. I'm guessing you're saying many more to come. I do think we're going to see a couple of more players begin to opt out. Let's bring back Pat Williams. Let's see if he's in shape, huh? Let's see. Clayton Cox says, Randy, thoughts on Kirk reporting yesterday wearing socks and sandals? Viewers got to know, LOL. Hey, man, I think everyone that hates on people wearing socks and sandals, man, listen, y'all can kick rocks, man. I wear socks and sandals. You know why? Because it's comfy. I like having the flexibility of feeling like, having my toes wiggle around, having some freedom, not being restricted to the restriction of a foot, or not a foot, of a shoe, just the surface all around. Kind of, I want my feet to move free while still being warm, protecting me from the wind. I like socks with sandals on. Joker Nation says this COVID-19 crap year just sucks. It does. It absolutely does. In fact, the more this goes on, the more this continues, and the more names that we see of players that are saying, I want out, I'm super good. Or even if we go to the next level, the players that do say, okay, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to play this season. It's all fine. But then we have players testing positive, and the chain reaction, the more I don't want this to happen, but the more I'm starting to believe we may not have a full NFL season, or the NFL season may just cancel. The preseason games aren't happening. The more I'm starting to believe that it's just not happening. Beforehand, I was saying, you know what? The NFL, they've had time to prepare for all this, much more than the NBA and the MLB. It will all be fine. Or, this was in the early stages when I was just saying to myself, this COVID-19, it will blow over. It will be fine. It may not be that big of a deal. I'm not a doctor, but it may not be that big of a deal. And now it's still here. What is this? Almost August? Almost August. This stuff started happening, in March? So what, 4.5, 5 months in, it's still here. The more I'm starting to think, if we can get through a full NFL season, it will be an absolute miracle. Let's see. I shot you 99 says, did you hear rumors that the Packers may go after Everson Griffin? I did see that. I did. And whatever he decides, before the whole Michael Pierce thing, I was like, we're fine. Everson Griffin, it will be a nice story to bring him back, but we're fine. Now that he's gone, I'm in the camp of let's bring Everson Griffin back. But regardless, even if he does go to the Packers, where it's like, that's our number one rival, I'm happy for Everson Griffin. I really, really am. And I'll probably elaborate more wherever it is that he signs, assuming that he doesn't return to Minnesota. I am happy for him because with everything that went down, I believe that was in the 2018 season. And that's his story to tell. I've seen speculation and I guess hearsay and stuff, but that's not fair for something, a situation as serious like that. That's something that only Everson Griffin should be able to tell. That's his story. But either way, when you're talking about mental health and how deteriorating it can be, I deal with mental health stuff all the time. I deal with it every day. I've dealt with it my whole life. And the big thing is, how do you bounce back from it? And Everson Griffin, and I wrote an article about this before the 2019 season, back when I was a former writer for the Viking Age. And I talked about Everson Griffin and Gary Kubiak. Gary Kubiak was more physical health and being able to return to his happy place. Everson Griffin, the same situation. You can tell last year he was back. He was just back. He was happy. I'm happy for him that he was not only able to return to his profession, but he's still playing at an elite level. So, you know what? If he goes to the Packers, yeah, it's like, cheeseheads, no pack, no. But he's still able to play at a high level, and I'm happy for him. Let's see. Joker Nation says, what's your thoughts on Cook reporting to camp? I think I saw it where he technically reported to camp to get tested and to meet the protocols. Whether he's there to practice, we'll have to see. But at least it's a good start. It's a sign of good things to come, hopefully. And I did see that Zimmer said that Dalvin Cook will be a captain this year. Let's see. Yeah, I see a couple of people are talking about the socks with sandals on. I don't get why people hate on it. My wife hates it. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's comfy as hell. Oh, this is a great point. Who am I to you says the trickle down on the collegiate level will be felt for years to come. Just like with the NFL, we'll see how college football works, but let's say if the college football season does cancel, then you're looking at, I mean, our teams in the 2021 draft, are they going to have to develop their big board based on the 2019 season of the college football season? That is to say, if the college football season for 2020 doesn't happen, that's going to be tough. Either way, Trevor Lawrence is the number one pick. We'll do a couple more. People are still talking about socks and slides. Jarrell Smith says, I'll be happy if Aaron does because they don't get him no weapons in the draft. Think that's a way to stick it to the team. Wait, what are we talking about here? I'm mad confused. Jeffrey Lumberg says, what if they played once every 2 weeks? I mean, that's an option, but goodness, the season is already 4 months long. So if you make it every 2 weeks, you're going to make it 8 months long. Will it help reduce the risk? Maybe, but I think because they're still traveling, teams are still traveling. It's not like they're in a bubble. So there's still the risk of exposure. I don't know. I mean, it's an option, maybe something to look at. Okay. Conserving first. I know I am screwing this YouTube channel name up. Conserving Furs says, you hear about the rumor that Belichick is throwing for Trevor. I think it's obvious BS, but it's funny how much people always think he's doing 4D chess. I would have agreed with you before they signed Cam Newton. So when it was, goodness, what's the dude's name? Brian Hoyer, who I think was going to be the starter. Brian Hoyer, if he was going to be the starter, then 100%. They are tanking for Trevor. Now that they signed Cam Newton, I think they're all in. I think they're all in on the 2020 season. I don't think the Patriots are tanking at all because I actually think they have a chance to win the AFC East because, goodness, you still have a top defense. You still have Bill Belichick, and your main competition are the Buffalo Bills, who before signing Cam Newton, okay, it was the Bills division to lose. But now you're taking Cam Newton, who I've talked about before. I think he's extremely overrated. Goodness, this beep is still going off. Don't get it. I think Cam Newton is extremely overrated. He's a wildly inaccurate quarterback for his career. But you're talking about one inaccurate quarterback in Cam Newton going up against another inaccurate quarterback in Josh Allen. And the Patriots have the better coach and maybe the better defense. So suddenly, I think the Patriots are all in because Cam Newton will be the starter. And I think they're going to win the AFC East division. Conserving furs. Okay. What did I say? Conserving furs at first? Conserving furs. Thanks, my man. I appreciate that. Jeffrey Lumberg, $4.99 bucket. I appreciate that, my man. Says, thank you, Randy. Thank you, Jeff. Don't Care Bear says, thought my house was on fire. What the fuck? Nah, I'm in these condos in Ocean City, and apparently I don't get what's going on. This doesn't seem like an emergency. I don't know if they're doing a test on the alarm system. So my apologies for that. I'll do a couple more questions or a couple more responses to some of your thoughts here. Team Bombardil says NFL draft needs to use a lottery for first 5 or 10 picks so no team will tank for a prospect. I completely agree. You know why? Because I'm sick of seeing all the same bum-ass teams get the same top 10 picks. I completely agree. It will encourage competition. Now, not to say that I do think players on the football field, I think they're always going to compete regardless. They're not sitting there saying, oh, let's try to get the number one pick, because for a lot of those players, they're trying to still have a job the following season. So they're still going to play their asses off. And I think coaches, they're still going to coach as well. They don't want to get fired. But I think more so GMs that are secure in their position, they may say, okay, let's adjust the roster a little bit. Let's cut player X, Y, or Z. They may encourage their coaches to say, let's play, this B squad player to see what he can do next year, knowing that he sucks, which will give the team a better chance to lose. I think there are like little sneak ways to tank in the NFL that are not so obvious to the naked eye or the untrained eye. But I completely agree. It should be a lottery system, not just, worst case or worst record gets the number one pick. Jarrell Smith with the ultimate dad joke. What do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. That's great. That is just fantastic. Well done, Jarrell. That is what's up. I got to give you that one. One more. Okay. Don't Care Bear says, this is a good one to end on. What picks would you kick up to get Trevor Lawrence? I think you would have to give up a king's ransom. Well, it ultimately depends on where you finish in the 2020 season, assuming that the season starts and finishes on time. Depends on where you finish. Now, let's say if they do teeter on that 7-9 record, the low end, which I think worst case scenario they will. Let's say that's a 13 or 14 pick in the draft. You would obviously have to give up the one. You may have to give up. You may have to give up like the next 3 years. The next two additionally on top of this year's first, but you may have to give up 2 more, maybe even 3 first-round draft picks and maybe like a 3rd or 4th-round kicker. I would do it because I believe Trevor Lawrence is going to be a superstar. And if you feel that way, you should do it too if you're an organization that's struggling to identify the quarterback. So that's what I would do. 2, maybe 3 more first-round picks on top of this year's first-round pick that you would gain in 2020. So let's see. I think that will be it for now. So in case anything else happens, I'll be sure to talk about it. I know I'm doing some live streams sporadically here and there. This is the first one I've done since being out here on the East Coast, but I appreciate all the viewers. We'll see you next time. Keep an eye out. I will keep an eye out for news, training camp, just to see how is this shit going to go down. There's no preseason. How is this going to go down? I hope there's an NFL season. We'll see you next time.